Welcome to the official catch-up. Today I'm joined by Chris Marshall of Leading the Line, which is generally focused on Scottish women's football, and you're a researcher for A View from the Terrace. Chris, how are you getting on?
So it's been a good run, obviously truncated a little bit at the moment, but great fun working on A View from the Terrace. Obviously things are going to get a little bit more difficult coming up, but it's been a great series to work on, and I've been really enjoying it. But glad to just have a chance to speak to somebody I live alone. So Chris, this is great. I get to speak to somebody else today outside of work, which is lovely.
I'm the same, mate. I've got a son, but he lives with his mum, so it's difficult. Obviously, I'm glad that I'm speaking to so many people, because it defeats the boredom for me. Obviously, gets me through the day, but also anyone in our situation as well. Hopefully, they're listening in, and it'll give them a wee bit of company, just all the football chat and stuff like that.
Absolutely, it's nice to have a bit of chatting about it, especially when it's kind of people that maybe have interacted, because I think we just said before we started recording, I think me and you have had conversations, but I think it's the first time you've actually spoke.
Yeah.
Probably the first time. So so it's great to do stuff like this as well.
And my only claim to fame from A View from the Terrace was I featured on or should I say my video was featured on the intro to season 1. I was doing a FIFA career with Hearts, God knows why. And I got approached, obviously, can we use some of your footage and stuff? Yeah, sure. And then I think they chose a goal conceded against Killie and Rangers as well. And I was thinking, so the whole nation's seen me conceding 2 goals on FIFA to the computer, but I swear it was on Legendary, or Ultimate.
I'm pretty sure they're still in the titles for this run as well. I think when we were putting them together, I think that still made the cut. So your glorious defeats are still in there, mate. It's good.
The View from the Terrace. I didn't really listen to the podcast before, but the what they're doing with the show, what you're doing, obviously. We spoke a wee bit about the segment for Berwick Rangers, and then I think BSC Glasgow as well. I'm speaking to Michael Park later, but I'm really thankful for the meme that you guys got. I think he says I'm terrified or something like that. So
I mean, it was it's great to, obviously, being a researcher. I just kind of do. I get to see the end product. I kind of do the bits at the start, so I kind of make the phone calls and send the emails and things like that, which is great. But especially the BSC Glasgow one. Having met Michael a couple of times, I knew that he would be good on telly, and it certainly proved to be the case, which is great.
Yeah, I'm sure when BSC got beat off at East Kilbride, I did fire that I'm terrified out. And then I think it was Moza had, obviously Derek had some say in the shirts, because it's get it right up you sort of thing on their shirts. Totally. So I was waiting to throw that out there. After another defeat, but obviously I might not get the chance now. So
I mean, I think so. You've mentioned obviously the 2 from this season, but I actually think one of my kind of favourite ones, and this was before I was working on the show, but actually one of my favourite pieces was the Hoyk Royal Albert one. They did Hoyk Royal Albert United one, I should say, which they did in Series 1, which was a really good piece about just like trying to be a kind of East of Scotland side at the time, in a rugby town. And obviously they've had their kind of troubles not to see recently, but it's really good. So I mean, I suppose for me, my big thing has obviously been my areas of quote unquote expertise in Scottish football would be women's football and kind of the non-league scene kind of as a whole. So it's great to get those kind of clubs having a bit more of a spotlight on the show.
Definitely. And how are you coping yourself with all that's going on? Obviously, you're similar to me. You live alone. Are you missing the football, women's football? Are you trying to keep yourself busy?
Just try to keep so busy, man. So busy. I suppose during the week it's not, at the moment it's okay. That will change in a couple of weeks' time when I'm kind of looking for more things to work on. But last Saturday was weird. I'm not going to lie. Last Saturday I ended up actually running a kind of football memories kind of idea on the Pollock. So Pollock's my kind of non-league team. There we go. There's your bit of information there. Kind of did a rerun of the 1981 Cup final, but went and kind of saw some programmes, got some of the news clippings for the following day and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just keeping busy. This Saturday, I don't know. Sundays as well. Sundays I'm usually kind of out and about all day, kind of covering women's games, whether it's kind of actually working them or just kind of doing a bit of scouting, just kind of getting my knowledge in and hand in. So it's only one weekend, so it's basically summer at the moment. But
Yep.
I think another couple of weekends down the line will be slightly more interesting, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and this is why I'm doing these not only for myself but other people, because it's a time where it's good to hear things, keep yourself entertained, something a wee bit fresh. Obviously, to be honest, I never expected this to be as big as it is, but we've as big as it is, and people have been really friendly, wanting to come on, and I was thinking to myself, I should have done this way sooner, but it's the perfect time because we can speak to different people that we've not really spoke to, maybe on the pod at all. And it's interesting that you mentioned Pollock there, because I want to get a story out. I'm sure I told someone yesterday who I spoke to, but the only other person that knew was the Bonnie Rig Rose manager, Robbie Horn. I told him that off the record, but I remember going to Pollock, and I must have been, I think I was 14 or 15, and I went, it was like the Scottish Junior Cup, or one of the cups, East of Scotland team, East Juniors team, I should say, and I remember being absolutely feared of going there, like sort of hiding the scarf sort of stuff and that. But
I think it's that bad down there. No, I mean, Pollock's obviously traditionally one of the kind of bigger sides in the West region. It's been the team of my youth, adolescence, teenage years, growing up to now. So it's very much the Saturday routine is going to the Pollock games, whether it be home or away. And yeah, it's a bit of a miss. And obviously with everything that's going on in a broader sense, we're still not really sure exactly what we're coming back to at the moment.
yeah. That's the thing. I mean, what's your opinions on that, Chris? Are you null and void, or do you think Celtic and like Dundee United maybe should have the titles, and should teams get relegated and all that sort of thing?
I think the season should be ended. I think it's far easier to fix the next season and maybe do something jazzy with that than kind of writing off this one, because this one's still kind of to be finished. And I mean, I think some of the leagues are already kind of pre-anointed, but obviously kind of putting a non-league spin on it. Brora were obviously crowned as Highland League champions, but I mean, they were in a kind of position where it was pretty much unassailable at that point. Whereas obviously in the Lowland League, you've got Kelty and Bonnie Rig who are still very much within each other's grasps, and I think nulling it at this point, it just kind of wastes a kind of season for a lot of people, and I think that's probably not the best outcome. So for me, I think I would like to see it kind of finished whenever they can get back to normal, and then if we maybe need to do a truncated next season, then we do it like that, or whatever kind of goes from there. But yeah, I'd like to see the season finished, I think.
Well, in terms of the West of Scotland League, obviously, how are you looking forward to the former sort of West Juniors joining the Pyramid? Obviously, club licensing will be a part of that, so there'll be a lot of club infrastructure improved and stuff. Are you looking forward to that in terms of not just Pollock but other teams in the West, Chris?
I mean, I've been kind of for it. To be honest with you, it was inevitable as soon as the kind of first transfer, as soon as East of Scotland happened. I think it became inevitable that would be where it was going to go. I think that I can't really see negatives for it at the moment, if I'm being perfectly honest. I've seen the impact of it, so I get out to a lot of games, as many as I can, because I like to try and get a good feel of kind of opinion across the board within relative driving range on a midweek. But yeah, I think it can be a good thing. I think you just the case that I always refer back to, and I think is a good one, is Dunny Pace. Yeah, they are still maybe not going to be one of the biggest teams in the pyramid in that kind of respect. But when you look at the kind of what they've done from what was Westfield Park to what it is now, and you look at some of the work that's been done in other clubs and how they've kind of progressed up the pyramid quite quickly. Obviously, you've got Kelty looking to try and get into the league this season, which would never have been possible 4 years ago. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's been drawn out far too long. Far too long.
Yeah.
And I've never quite understood the reasons as to why. I know that there's a lot of affinity for junior football, and I have that affinity, but it's just going to kind of wither if it doesn't make this move. So yeah, I'm positive on it. I think it's the right thing to do. And I'm just interested to see how the jigsaw is then put together, kind of going forward.
It's funny. I actually find it a wee bit funny that a lot of people I don't know why, but I've noticed this a few times from people, out your way and sort of west, if you will, and they always cite Dunny Pace, and I always find that interesting. I don't know why, and I actually love Dunny Pace. I was really, really, in awe of their facilities and stuff when I went through, and that hill is amazing. There's a hill there, and it I swear to God, if they could just put seats or something there, it would be absolutely brilliant. They've got a massive hill that looks over the pitch, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I think it's probably just because Dunny Pace were the one west side to kind of move. That's probably the reason for it. And I think everybody's memories of Dunny Pace before they did the move was a kind of lower, kind of bottom tier, maybe getting to the second bottom tier. Long time since they've had any kind of real success. And I think maybe people were looking at them and going, why are you doing that? But actually, if they stayed in the junior structure, would they have been able to do what they've done up until this point? I'm not sure. And I think that's maybe there's a bigger picture that eventually will come to the fore. And I think maybe it's just taking some people a little bit longer to kind of spy that.
Sorry, you're obviously involved in women's football, with leading the line and stuff. Is it any different, the effect of the coronavirus from women's football than men's? Is there any difference, or is it?
I think the main difference, I mean, in terms of the kind of players getting together, not having any games, how they cope, that's all pretty much the same. I think the kind of main difference was that the women's season worked on a February to November basis. So actually, the league season's only one game old for a lot of clubs. So that kind of debate that's been had, obviously, in the men's game about should we finish the season, that's not really there. Everybody's all very much the opinion that we'll be coming back to do a season. So that's maybe the main difference. But no, it's pretty similar in terms of the same kind of challenges that are being faced. Most of the clubs are affiliated with men's sides in some way, shape or form. Not all, but most. And I think maybe what will be interesting is, given kind of the renewed push for women's football at the start of this year, we've obviously seen with the Rangers and Celtic kind of going professional and the investment going into other clubs like at Hearts and at Partick Thistle, and obviously Glasgow City still very much trying to maintain their position as standard bearer. I think what will be very interesting is just kind of making sure that they continue with that emphasis once the season's kind of back, obviously given some of the financial troubles that maybe are ahead. But yeah, in terms of kind of day-to-day footballing, the games maybe be on a Sunday, but everything else is still pretty much the same kind of holding pattern as a men's game.
And what got you into women's football? I mean, I was not saying I was really not aware of as such, but I didn't see a lot of it until obviously Scotland, Shelley Kerr got Scotland to the World Cup. I don't know what the gender debates and stuff are, but I actually thought it was a decent standard, and there is a lot of gripes, obviously. Well, it's never going to be as good as men's, blah 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 blah. But what got you attracted to women's football?
Well, I mean, so for me, I started going to women's football maybe 6 years ago. So it's not like I kind of been a fan forever and ever. Like maybe 5-6 years ago, and I think it maybe started with being a member of the Tartan Army. And with being a member of the Tartan Army, you got kind of free entry into the women's qualifiers for the European Championships, World Cups. So I was like, well, this free game of football, good chance to go see something, and that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And then I started going to kind of domestic games. I started going to Rangers games because they were close, and it's a lot cheaper than going to Ibrox. And then kind of from there, to be honest with you, mate, people ask me this a few times. I don't really know what point it flipped from being a casual kind of fan to kind of being as deep into it as I am now. I think probably the catalyst for it was maybe start of last year. I was getting a little bit hacked off about some of the kind of lack of coverage about women's football. So obviously that kind of led to Leading the Line becoming a bit more of a conscious thing, which has always been around Leading the Line, but it's never really had a purpose. It's just kind of been something I've fired stuff onto every now and again. So kind of started last year, I started getting a bit more involved in terms of with SWF, and kind of started kind of being more recognisable when they went to grounds and stuff like that. And it's kind of snowballed from there, where I've now obviously got Leading the Line, doing the podcasts. I've got another podcast with the Scotland International lined up for some point this week as well, which is good. And it's just, I think it's just a different way of experiencing football, because for me, football's not, you can have world-class football anywhere. But football for me, in terms of the match day experience, it's about being competitive, and you can have competitive football at any level. And I think that's maybe something that gets lost for me. one of the best games I went to last season was the Scottish Cup final. Glasgow City beat Hibs 4-3. It was an absolute roller coaster. But yeah, I don't know. It just still feels kind of new at the moment. It still feels untainted by a lot of the nonsense that sometimes goes around the men's game. I mean, it's still there. Don't get me wrong. There's still nonsense there. But yeah, it's just kind of my thing, and I'm kind of cool with it at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I actually like that because it's similar with when we started. There wasn't a sort of Lowland League outlet, if you will. I mean, they had the website and stuff like that. When me and Michael Park sat down and discussed it, my first idea, I was a YouTube content creator at the time. I sort of still am, obviously, but I don't really upload as much now. But yeah, I said, I'm not I would have been all right at writing stuff, but I was thinking, you know what, we could do a podcast. I'll speak to Derek, and then it just took off from there. I think people forget. And I mentioned this to Callum McFadden, who obviously does the CFB football podcast, who's done a fantastic job. I would just say go for it because the clubs, the players, everyone that I've really spoke to, I don't think there's anyone that's been negative. They all seem to be very approachable. I know football gets a bad rap from people that are not really involved in it, and the police or whoever. And I've always found football to be great, and the people involved in football are always awesome and are always honest. We might disagree on some things, but yeah.
I think the other thing with football is it just gives you, especially if you're a football fan and you feel like you have something to contribute, just do it, man. I think that was the kind of big thing for me was I had hit a kind of point in my life where I was maybe unsure about what I was doing. I'd been kind of working in the same kind of job for a long time. It wasn't really what I'd set out my life to be when I was 20, 21, whatever. So yeah, if you think you've got something to contribute and you think you can really do it, then go for it. Absolutely. I think if you were to tell me that I had been to the World Cup and I'd helped cover Scotland games and been to Easter Road and spoke to Shelley Kerr about games about 18 months ago, I would have said, that's mad. But yeah, that's kind of some of the things I do. Hopefully in the future, that's something that I can maybe start to earn a little bit more from. I think that's probably the next step for women's football in terms of getting that boost in coverage. But yeah, I would absolutely, anybody who wants to, especially now, given the surplus of time that everybody probably has, absolutely just go for it, man. And do you know what? If you try it and it doesn't work, at least you tried. And I think that's a big thing. Always try it and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know, Chris. Like for me, it was kind of like everything just, I wouldn't say fell on my lap or something, but I just was like, I have an interest in this, and then suddenly I'm updating everyone's squad lists and doing the Wikipedia. I'm working with Kelty Hearts on match day, speaking to the players, and I was just like, how did this happen?
I mean, yeah, there's elements of that, absolutely. Like I remember sitting, I can't remember. It was after the Scotland-Cyprus game after the World Cup, first game after the World Cup. And it'd been, by this point, I was kind of properly like just at everything. And sitting in the press room, kind of speaking to Shelley Kerr afterwards. And I kind of sat in my car, in the car park, and I was like, I'm not quite sure how this has got to this point. But yeah, cool. Let's kind of keep rolling with the punches. And then obviously I got the opportunity to kind of join the Terrace at the start of this year. And it was a bit of a risk, and obviously the pandemic has heightened that risk somewhat. But I'm still really glad that I took the opportunity, and I'm going to keep looking and see what else is out there. But yeah, just go for it, man. If you see something, do it. And I think the other thing I always say as well is like, if you are maybe like listening to the lowly Catchup, or you're listening to Leading the Line and you want to get involved, or even if you're looking for advice, everybody you speak to about stuff like this, they'll always be happy to help, because they probably come from your position at some point in time as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even with sometimes with players, I mean, you know this yourself. Some people are not the best talkers, or they're a wee bit nervous. I was fortunate that I had the YouTube experience. I mean, I look back at some of my videos that have like thousands of views, because some of my earlier stuff was really quite popular, like some of my FM Wonder Kids videos and stuff like that, and I cringe. I'm like, oh my god, I hate that video. But you improve. The more you do something, the more you improve, interviews wise, writing wise. It's like everything else, I suppose.
Yeah, and like I think your point about players is a good one, because I think what the first thing when you first go speak to a player, And so, as a bit of background, I did journalism a long time ago. I did radio journalism when I was living down in Brighton, and I kind of came back up. I couldn't drive, and I kind of lost my way a little bit, and I ended up not doing it. But when you first kind of speak to a player, you're just kind of like, what do I say? Like, how do you avoid the question? And see, to be honest with you, and I don't know what it's like for you doing stuff for Kelty, but I hate post-match interviews. It's like maybe my least favourite part of doing it sometimes, because you very rarely get to ask anything out with a kind of confined box of information. So I quite like doing the kind of weird stuff. So one of the things I've obviously started doing is kind of asking people about their food. So this is kind of the new aspect of it when we do the player interviews in the podcast, as well as speaking about their career, which I think for women's football is really interesting just now, because you just kind of hear about the different ways and paths that people get to that point.
Yeah.
And then kind of help them kind of disarm them a little bit by just kind of talking about their favourite foods and kind of doing it that way around as well. So, I would always say if you have an idea, just try it. And if it bombs, you'll know straight away and you'll feel like a bit of a twat, but it'll be good.
I've been proud of myself in the sense that I've always kind of tried to ask the hard questions. So even after a result that's been tough, I will say, you know, what went wrong or whatever. There's been a few that I've not really wanted to ask, but I've asked them anyway, because I always find that if you don't ask questions that people are probably thinking about, then you'll end up getting it. Like, why didn't you ask them? You're a shite bag or whatever, you know. So I'm like, I'm going to have to ask you. Jamie Dishington, for example, who went from Spartans to Stallinshire, he was getting a wee bit of stick, money grabbing and all that sort of stuff. And, some of it was light-hearted, but I think some of it was kind of like, a wee bit more maybe. So one of the first things I asked him when I went and saw him at Shire was like, so what was it like moving from Spartans to Stallinshire? And I did ask him about the sort of how do you take the stick and all that sort of stuff. So I always thought it was like, you're better asking than leaving it be, because at least in that sense, I'm asking them to their face and not saying it behind their back. So there's that to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the other thing about doing kind of what we do, because we're quite close to the kind of clubs and players, and if you compare it to maybe some of the bigger kind of national stuff in terms of covering Premier League and people kind of covering it week in, week out, sometimes you get the odd DM and you're kind of like, oh, okay, that's a fair point, and you kind of have a bit of a discussion about it, but everybody's kind of open enough to come and do that, as opposed to just kind of everybody kind of sitting holding a little bit of beef about maybe something that's maybe not been interpreted the way it should have been, or something like that.
I've not really had much stick personally from the players or the clubs as such that I remember anyway. I mean, I have apologised a few times if I felt I've maybe went a wee bit too far, and I've said, look, I've said this, it's out there, I do apologise, sort of thing,
Yeah, absolutely, because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm very conscious. For me, I try and take a positive spin on everything, but sometimes annoys folk. But but I think for me, it's a case of, like, at the end of the day, these are people that you're trying to help promote their game, and you're also maybe going to want to speak to them further down the line. So the aim of the game is certainly not to try and rile them up. It's to kind of have a fair discussion about the games, and then obviously in the back of that, do some other stuff to kind of help promote it.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, especially now in isolation. People's mental health is not going to be great, all being stuck in and stuff. And I did put out a tweet a few months ago now saying, like, look, if I've ever said anything, blah, 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 I apologise, because sometimes you don't know if you're,
totally.
Sometimes you don't know if it's too much banter, or there's a guy that plays for Civil called Kyle Fee. Before we came on, I tweeted out something, like, players that influenced me when I grew up, Kyle Fee sort of thing, just a bit of banter and stuff, but no, Kyle takes it all right. I'm at the stage where I've spoken to Kyle, and it's just banter and stuff. But if I'd done that with some other guys, they might not take it good, and you wouldn't know. That's the problem, because you're on Twitter, you're trying to have a laugh or a wee bit of banter, and sometimes you don't know how it's affecting someone's mental, considering the younger players, they might not, if I say something like, I didn't think such and such had a good game, some guys would go away, not bother about it, and other guys might say, it might get them down. And I don't know. That's the scary thing. Sometimes you don't know how you affect people's mental health, and it's something you have to consider, I guess, especially if you've got a platform like we do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something I'm especially mindful of the fact that me and Campbell, who do the podcast, the kind of two stalwarts for the podcast, shall we say, are both guys talking about women's football, and a lot of the players in Scotland are very young, and I'm always mindful of the fact that any kind of criticism is given in a way that does not leave somebody at the end of it kind of doubting themselves, because I don't think that's the right thing to do. It's hard sometimes. I'm sure you feel the same way as well sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah, something I'm extremely mindful of, just given kind of the nature of the game that I specialise in terms of coverage. But a lot of people everybody's brand new. There's not many people that kind of aren't interested. And I think as long as you kind of demonstrate that you are keen, then that is usually reciprocated, especially kind of lowland league, women's junior level.
Absolutely, and the clubs appreciate it, and the players do as well. There's again civil service strollers. David Churchill, unfortunately, Churchy's out injured, most of the season, and he used to give us actually. I was thinking about he used to give us pelters, like we weren't giving civil enough credit and stuff, considering they don't have maybe as much funding as like Kelty and East Lanarkshire. I used to get a few DMs from him, slating us and that, and actually we actually became sort of all right with each other, because we respected, like being honest, and I think that's the most important thing. I think, Chris, just be honest, and it annoys me sometimes, and I always say this. I don't like to be viewed as a journalist or anything off the sort. I'm just a guy that's interested in and wants to hear from the players or the gaffers and that. And but there has been a few journalists that I've had words with, not always positive, and I wouldn't say I've fell out with them. I'm kind of like, I'll forget something in about a week. I could fall out with you tomorrow, and then I'd be like, message you next week. How are you doing, mate? Sort of thing. So, but I think the best way to counteract that is just talk to the players, talk to the clubs, rather than write about them or speak behind their back or anything like that. Just talk to them. It's so easy, and I think people don't realise how easy it is. It's maybe harder up. It's maybe hard higher up the levels if you're wanting to maybe speak to Rangers or Celtic or that. But at this level, everyone's approachable.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is. It's just the kind of, you say, you're not. And it's funny you mentioned the fact you don't consider yourself a journalist. I don't really consider myself a journalist either. I think it's sometimes something that just kind of happens by mistake when I'm doing certain things. I just happen to be a fan, and I just want to grow the game. I mean, that's kind of the main ethos of kind of leading the line, and kind of what I do in my spare time is grow women's football, and however I need to do that. I'm fortunate enough that I can be quite flexible in my approach, given my experience in various fields up until now. So, it's just about growing the game, and obviously, bigger everything gets, the better for everybody else it is. I'll tell you what, I've got one question for you. I'll flick a question to you, because obviously my other passion is pies. So, in your experience in the Lowland League, what's your pie of choice? Who does the best?
Asking the wrong person, and I tell you why. I have only ate one pie in the Lowland League. I don't tend to eat at the football because I'm either usually working or whatever. I had one pie. It was at East Kilbride when they won the league. I'm sure it was like a midweek game or something. They were against Spartans.
When they played Spartans. Yeah, because I was at that game as well.
And I had that pie. From what I've heard, I believe, just from what I've heard through, obviously, my links and stuff, obviously Alloa, BSC Glasgow are really good. Gala have a bit of a reputation as well. I think it's probably maybe between them two. I'm sorry to other clubs, I've never tried your stuff. East Kilbride were all right, to be honest. I can't remember too much. I was just remember being really hungry, and I was like, right, I need to buy a pie.
No, I mean, I've had a few in the Lowland League, but not as many. The Friday night fixtures kind of help a little bit, so it means like teams like BSC and Cumberland Colts I've seen quite a few times, just because it's easy on a Friday night to do so.
But it's weird. It is weird, Chris. I just never eat the football. That was the one time, but I think it's because I had to leave early to go to East Kilbride, and then I was obviously hungry because I hadn't had my dinner, so I was like, I'm breaking my. It's not even a rule as such. It's just something I've never really done much of is eat at the football. So
Yeah, no, I'm good then. I am all good. I always feel like anytime somebody speaks to me, you're the first person that's maybe not asked me about pies when I've done something like this. So maybe I just felt
that's
like
maybe why. That's why. That's probably why, Chris. Obviously I do know that sort of side of your stuff as well, but yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just probably not the right person to ask or whatever. So my knowledge is a wee bit limited in that sort of sense. Well, it's been fantastic speaking to you, Chris. Hopefully, we'll speak again soon when we know more. And I don't know how long we're going to be in isolation, but I'm really, really happy that we got to chat today about our work with Leading the Line, obviously on women's football, a view from the terrace, and obviously your pies and whatnot. I really appreciate chatting, mate, and hopefully it won't be the last time. Hopefully, we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Pleasure having a wee chat. And of course, everybody stay safe. And if you ever want to chat about women's football, you know where I am.